Hello and welcome to the first Chiefsman's Corner of 2023. I am your host, Coach Winuvas of the San Diego slash Los Angeles Superchargers. I called them San Diego, and I'm sorry. As you might be able to tell, if you've ever listened to other podcasts or other broadcasts I've done, I am a little bit under the weather. However, I did say I was going to put out a video or a podcast today. I got whatever my wife had. I am not in as bad a shape as my wife, but my wife finally returned back to work as I'm starting to the decline in as far as health goes. I don't have COVID though. I don't have strep. She tested negative for all that, so it's just a little bit of a cold. But I'm going to trudge through as best I can. And this is going to be a lot different of an episode than I usually do, mainly because I don't have a script in front of me. And the reason I don't have a script is because, as everybody is aware, over the break, whenever I took off, I was kind of hoping when I come back, we'd be in like week 16, 17, 18, maybe even playoffs. Could be discussing our season 2 playoff picture, discussing draft picks. I had a draft board set up ready to go with our previous information. And then December 28th, 2022 happened, where EA, through complete and utter negligence and incompetence, managed to delete 60% of franchises or more that had logged in between December 28th and December 29th, which I think it actually went back as far as December 27th. They basically said everything was okay, and then when you logged in, you corrupted your data that they said was okay and basically broke your franchise. And their solution was to just start anew. And I gotta tell you, that hurts in so many ways. I do apologize for the little bit of jump cuts and a little bit of jitters in the camera. I am by myself and I have a bunch of cats, so they're basically clamoring for attention. So I'm trying to take care of them while doing this because I want to get this out. Yeah, I think a lot of folks in our community and in the Madden community in general are beyond disappointed at this point. It's not even a surprise anymore, which is the most depressing part of all. So I'm going to start with the fact that I personally won't be buying Madden 24. If WFL continues in Madden 24, and I really genuinely hope it does, it will be either for 3 reasons, 2 of which involve me and 1 of which doesn't. First one, which I'll go ahead and start with, the one that doesn't involve me, is someone or a group of people take over leadership roles and take over the rule set that we have in place and just continue on in the WFL lineage, and they are more than welcome to do so. I do not, unlike some leagues and some folks whose leadership or commissionership is tied into the ego of the league, I am very much of the opposite mindset. The league is more important than any one person, even myself who started it or helped start it. I don't even like saying that I started it because I really didn't. It was a group of people that united around a common rule set in Madden 16 that wanted to do things differently but still hold true to some simulation standards. So it definitely was not a one-man gang. It was not me, beating the drum and saying this is the way we have to do it or else. It was very much always has been and hopefully always will be a group effort first and foremost. So if WFL continues in Madden 24, and I genuinely hope it does, even if I'm not involved in the day-to-day aspect, it'll be because some folks step up and wish to take on the mantleship. I have already, just to let you know, I started this a couple months ago, not even after this latest bullshit by EA. I have started moving stuff to a neutral Gmail account that, if necessary, can be used by future leadership. Just basically pass over that Gmail account and that information to the new leadership, and essentially all the rules will be copied there. Most of the rules as such are copied there. I have to copy the new stuff. But all the forms aren't there yet, but basically make it to where whoever were to take over, because all the stuff in WFL right now is under my personal Gmail account just for ease of use. I only started, excuse me, Sorry, I'm sick, as I said earlier. Um, Everything is under my personal account because it's just easier to handle. But I did start, whenever I started the WFL YouTube page and doing the videos and stuff, I did make a neutral Gmail account that I would be happy to pass on to any leadership potential that takes over in Madden 24 if somebody is to take over. The other two ways that I would be involved, because as I started this little mini rant with, I am not buying Madden 24. I am not asking anyone to buy me Madden 24. In fact, I encourage anyone and everyone to not buy Madden 24. Do not clamor for codes. Do not do anything to engage with EA as far as the Madden headspace is concerned. To me, this last little tidbit, starting with December 28th, is finally the bridge that just was too far for me anyway. I will not be buying Madden 24 with my hard-earned money. The only way I will be playing Madden 24 is if EA were to give it to me for free, whether it's through codes that they should honestly give every single person who purchased Madden 23, everyone who bought Madden 23, regardless of the edition you bought. If you bought like the Haya Chapsuya $119 edition because you're big into MUT and playing franchise mode, that's fine. But whatever, if you spent 1 penny on this atrocity of a series, you deserve Madden 24 for free. So unless EA is going to give it to us, or me in particular, for free, and I'm just some nobody in Podunk, Mississippi, so I know I'm not going to get it from EA. EA's not going to come beating down my door and going, "Oh, we're sorry we insulted you, Winuvas. Here is your free code for Madden 24. We feel bad about franchise." And I'm going to be like, "You are lying sacks of shit." Anyway, that's the one way I will go in. The other way is if someone were to purchase it for me. Now, this is not me asking anyone to put their hard-earned money to buy me a copy of Madden 24. That is the furthest thing I want you to do with that money. That money would be far better used, I don't know, getting yourself a root canal, even if you don't need one. I won't be buying Madden 24. Madden 24 will get 0 pennies from me. Madden series will get 0 pennies from me pretty much for the foreseeable future. Unless EA Play gives it away, because I am still membership of EA Play. Unless they give it away, Madden 24 for free as part of their EA Play service, I won't be in Madden 24. Period. That's not to say that the league can't be successful without me. I feel like it can be completely successful without me. But that is my stance right now. After December 28th, 2022, Madden has done the unthinkable. They have basically made me not give a shit about the NFL and about Madden in general. And it takes a whole lot to get me to the point where I really don't give a shit about Madden. I mean, Madden I really don't like anyway, but to the point where basically I did the math on it, and the math just depressed me. We have had an average of about, say, 24 users. And at 50 hours, because we've put in probably each of us about anywhere between 50, I say average 50 hours, because games generally take about an hour and 15 for our single league, plus going through and researching free agency, plus we've had we've had 1 off season. So, all that time that each individual's put in, I figured at about 50 hours each user. At 24 users, it was like 13 or 1400 hours as a group that we've basically just flushed down the toilet thanks to EA, and that's just unacceptable. We give, as a community, I mean, I do appreciate the fact that most of the guys wanted to try a restart. I was firmly in the camp of, if everybody says FEA, I am completely kosher with that. But majority of you wanted to do a restart, and I felt like me and WFL leadership owed it to you guys to give you what you want. Now, I will state that there are some leagues that I've read about that have done a whole lot of getting back to where they were pre-franchise break. That was never going to happen for us. I didn't wish to be mean about it, but at the same time, I'm not going to ask my leadership team and myself and anybody in this league to devote any more time than is absolutely the bare minimum to get games in and get rosters set up and situated. At this point, EA doesn't deserve our attention. At this point, EA doesn't deserve our money. At this point, EA doesn't deserve our time. We still enjoy it. Most of us still enjoy it, playing these games. Most of us still enjoy doing these things. So therefore, we wanted to bring back WFL for that. But if WFL has a loss of attention or basically sees kind of a drop in activity, I completely understand why. I'll just put it like that. And if we have to shut down for the Madden 23 season and then basically just hopefully gear up for Madden 24, whoever comes back, then that's what happens. But at this point, that's not on the table. We are proceeding as if nothing's happened. We did start at week 10. We just advanced to week 11 last night. We are basically pushing on as if nothing's wrong, even though we basically lost about a year and almost 2 years franchise-wise worth of information as part of EA's absolute shit show of handling their business. So with that, leadership and I have been in discussion about something I've thought about doing when we first implemented WFL for the technically second time in Madden 16. WFL actually goes back as far as Madden 11 or 12. It started for like a year as a secondary league to the OMFL, which I was also a part of. But due to time constraints and pressures of basically being a leadership / co-commissioner or / commissioner in 2 leagues, I just couldn't handle it. And so I basically pushed WFL to the side. And then in Madden 16, whenever it came back for the second iteration, I came back with some help. I came back with some people that were genuinely interested. And that's how WFL got started from Madden 16 to Madden 20. And now we're back for Madden 22. That's a little bit of a WFL history lesson if you're ever cared about it. But anyway, the big thing is I have always thought about doing, because in our current state with 72-hour advances, we generally can get, if we start right as soon as the game drops, we can generally get 4, at least maybe 5 seasons in tops. That's everybody playing quickly. That's us advancing quickly. That's us getting through playoffs quickly, through off-season as quick as possible, and still allowing guys to do their thing. That's about as much as we can do, and that's about as much time as I can invest as that 72-hour advance. I know there would be some guys that would be like, well, just go 48-hour advances. I can't do that. Not with my family life. I just can't. I can't devote that kind of quick time turnaround to playing a Madden League. 72 is about as short as I can go, and I understand not going longer, but 72 is kind of my compromise personally. But I have always thought about doing a play season, sim season format. And I want to use this podcast and this free scripted setup to present to you guys a thought process that leadership and I have had based on some old stuff I dug from Madden 16 and 17 that I didn't really have. I had to kind of recreate it. And I'm going to flash it up on screen now, and I'm going to show you what we're talking about here with a play season, sim season setup. I'm going to try and zoom in on this. Let me get rid of that. All right, let me see how it looks on camera. Okay, so this is essentially our template for how we do an off season. So you're going to see stuff like day 1, day 2 in there. Be aware that this is essentially, if it falls on a Tuesday, then day 1 would be Tuesday, day 2 would be Wednesday, so on and so forth. Whenever we get to a point where this becomes a necessity to fill out the information, we would gladly do so. So you would have exactly what days things are happening, what times things are happening. The times don't change, but the days obviously will, because it depends on what day we finish the WFL Bowl, things of that nature. So this is a general template that we use for every offseason, but this time, this has a little extra. It has a simulated season built into it. Now, this is a prototype. This is not any final decision. This is nothing that this is definitely what we're going to do. This is definitely what we're not going to do. This is something I and the leadership team kind of cobbled together to try and help generate a little bit of interest and get us a little faster moving and quote, catch us up to where we were before. We won't be exactly where we were, but we want to try and get us on speed as quickly as possible. And if it works well and we decide on it, we could potentially work it in and make it to where we do play season, sim season type stuff, which is something I'd ultimately like to do, but I understand there are guys that just are here to play games. So I don't want to force people to do that unless everybody is on board with it, if that makes sense, or a huge majority of us are on board with it. So the off-season schedule is going to look very similar to what we do during a normal off-season. the day after the Super Bowl or the WFL Bowl, which I will change that now because it needs to be called the WFL Bowl, from 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern Time is when the staff phase will start. So that is when we will advance to the staff phase of the off season. Now, some of these rules are we've tweaked with, so this is an old template. So some of this stuff has changed a little bit, and I can alter it if necessary. And we can change some of this stuff if necessary. I'm not personally married to a lot of this stuff. I'd be open to allowing everybody to change their offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator as long as they have a valid reason for doing so. The valid reasons we have decided upon are listed here. If you think of more, decide on more, we're open to listening. And this phase, this re-sign or this staff signing phase, ends by 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We always do 2-hour windows, and I want to bring this back down real quick. The reason we do 2-hour windows in WFL for all our off-season stuff is to try and do our best to limit sniping in free agency, which obviously I haven't got to yet. But that's the reason we have those 2-hour gap windows. I will state for the record, though, that for anything that isn't free agency based, where you can sign a free agent or go after a free agent, in most cases, we wait till the absolute last minute to advance these things. Okay? So when I bring it back up and you see staff re-sign phase ends by 9 p.m. Eastern Time, that is typically when we'll end it, is right at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to give you the most amount of time to get your off-season stuff done, okay, to make sure you're caught up to speed, because we understand life happens. You can't always sign into your PlayStation 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're not all 20 years old and living at home with our moms and dads and living underneath a roof where we don't have to pay a mortgage. I completely get that. And so that's why those 2-hour windows are there, to basically keep a gap, but also keep us on pace. So basically at this point, from 7:01 to 9:01 p.m. Eastern Time on day one. So basically your signing of staff takes 12 hours. You have 12 hours to sign new staff or re-sign your old staff. Okay? After that, we advance to the re-sign phase. This is where you take your last shot to re-sign any players that you can legally sign. Keep in mind that 50% rules still apply. So if you've already hit your 50% limit as far as signings, the only thing you can do at this point, as far as a signing of that nature, is to do a franchise tag, the 50% plus one rule. Anybody else that's not on that 50% list, though, you can re-sign at this point or cut them loose, whatever you want to do. You have approximately 12 hours to do that. At 7:01 to 9:01 a.m. Eastern Time on day 2, so essentially 24 hours from the time we advance from the staff phase, we're going to be advancing to stage 1 of free agency. And at that point, you have 24 hours, and I want to note that because this is 7:01 to 9:01 a.m. Eastern Time day 2. This is 7:01 to 9:01 a.m. Eastern Time day 3. So this is day 1, this is day 2, this is day 3. So this is a Tuesday. Free agency stage 1 begins on Wednesday at this time, and free agency stage 1 ends at the same time 24 hours down the line on Thursday. Okay? And this window is to allow me, because again, just want to emphasize, I am the only person that is allowed to advance the league during the offseason. It is well established among my leadership team, and I always do it from my phone. I want to take this off for a second. I always do the advances from my phone. I am never on the PlayStation when I do an advance to any sort of free agency. I am trying to limit the accusations of sniping amongst the leadership team and myself as much as possible, so I take everybody out of the equation during free agency time. I'm the only one that's allowed to advance. If ever the league is advanced and I'm not part of it, someone's ass is going to be in a sling. And I promise you that, because I want to make sure that sniping is kept to as low as we can possibly do. We can't eliminate it because EA is full of shit and doesn't know how this works. Okay? And since they won't give us a good system where shit is hidden and nobody sees anything being offered until bam, it's ready to go. This is the way we do things in WFL. It's not the way every league does it. Some leagues do it differently. That's fine. This is the way we do things. It has worked. And until we find a better system or a more efficient system, this is the way we're going to continue to operate until a better system is presented and agreed upon by everybody. Okay? So back to the document. So free agency stage 2 begins. Now free agency stage 2 is a 12-hour process. Okay? Once we hit the 7:01 to 9:01 p.m. Eastern Time on that third day, I will advance to Stage 3. Stage 3 will be about 24 hours, roughly, give or take. And on day 4, at some point, I'm going to advance us to basically the pre-draft process. Okay? All these things are basically listing about deadlines for trading players and trading picks before the draft starts. Once we hit that deadline for picks being locked as far as trading, for players being locked as far as trading, no trades are going to be accepted after that point. Everyone will be focused on the draft. There will be nobody there to approve any trades. Is it the most realistic thing in the world? No. I'm sorry. This is the easiest way to do things because we all want to, everybody, leadership included, wants to improve their team. They improve their team through the draft. We're focused on the draft. We don't have time to not only focus on our players, but then focus on trading of picks and things. Get it done before the draft, and the draft will start at 9 p.m. Okay, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. It will be done live. Hopefully we can have a draft show. If my internet will ever start to cooperate, I'd love to do that. If not, I may join a show that's in progress. If somebody wants to host a draft show, I will be glad to join and do some commentary with it. But we will do a draft of all 7 rounds. It's going to be a long haul. So if you're not able to be there, please let us know as soon as possible. Hopefully the draft glitch shit is fixed so we can actually skip picks if we need to, pause if we need to. The only people we pause for, by the way, and I'm going to go back off camera, or back on camera, I should say. The only people we ever pause for the draft is people that are doing commentary and content for a draft show. So, for example, if I'm doing a draft show and I feel like I need to pause to get an idea of what I want to pick, I will pause because I'm hosting a draft show. However, other people, if they're on the draft show and they're actually actively on the draft show, if they need a moment to check out their draft board, we will pause it at that point if we are allowed to. I still don't freaking trust EA as far as that draft glitch is concerned. I still think it's broken as hell. But I've been told it's working, but EA also told us they were not going to lose our fucking franchises, and they did. So anyway, but that's the way the draft is going to go. Now, once the draft is done, this is where the tweaks are going to start to begin, and you're going to see differences from a normal offseason. Okay? So after the draft, we're going to simulate to preseason week 4, and that's to set your 53-man rosters and your practice squads. Okay? In 24 hours, you'll have 24 hours to do that. So you'll have plenty of time to look at your draft picks, maybe make some position changes, get your 53-man roster set, get your practice roster, squad roster set, and I'm going to emphasize this one for the simulation season. If this is the way we do things, please make sure all your scouting activities are set to automatic. Because as you can see, when we hit 9 p.m. Eastern Time on day 5, so we're 5 days out from the end of the regular season, we will simulate with injuries off to week 8 or week 9. I think they moved the trade deadline to week 9. So this might be I'm going to put a dash here because I don't remember if it's week 8 or 9. But whatever the trade deadline is, that's what we advance to. You'll have 24 hours to do any sort of trades. Now, obviously, you can be talking trades well before this starts. But at that point, when we hit that week, that trade deadline week, at that point, you have 24 hours to make any sort of trades, get them thrown in, and get them approved. Once we hit 9 p.m. Eastern Time, day 6, we will simulate to Wild Card Weekend. And at that point, and I'm going to turn it off because you pretty much see here, at that point, anyone whose team made the playoffs will then be able to play their playoff games using normal WFL rules for scheduling up things. This method basically takes us from the end of one season to the near the end of the next season in 6 days, in 6 calendar days. That is probably the fastest that we'll be able to do it and have everybody be able to somewhat participate and get stuff in and basically feel included as far as doing their things and getting their roster set up. Is it the best way to do things? Probably not. There's probably a better way. This is the way I envision it. And that the reason for that's real simple. If you are one that doesn't make the playoffs in that play season, you could potentially be sitting on your hands for 2 to 3 weeks. And I do not want that as much as I can help it. There will always be people that'll be out every year no matter what. But this type of setup does encourage and help those people that might not be as good on the sticks, but are decent at team management or just have a stacked team from the get-go, to make the playoffs and kind of feel good about their season, even though they may not do so well in the playoffs. It allows us to get some new blood in the playoffs during a non-play year, potentially, and allows us to maybe see some new blood get some WFL Bowl championships. And essentially, we'll treat this simulated playoff, just like we would a regular playoff. It's not, I don't think it's in the rules in this rule set iteration, but there used to be a rule where basically from the time the playoff started, after 7 days, if the games weren't done, we simulated. You had 7 days to do the playoffs. That's plenty enough time for 12 to 16 teams, because there's more now at this point. That rule, when we established it, was kind of old. We didn't have 3 wild card games, for example. But that rule's not in place. If we have to enforce it, we will. I don't think it'd be a problem for guys to get in and play their games. That's never really been a problem in this league for the most part. Guys are always good about getting their games in for the most part. So I don't foresee it being a problem. But we want to get our games in as quickly as possible, because essentially we're going to go through the playoffs. We're going to go through another offseason. So basically we're going to see an offseason potentially within a week to a week and a half after we have our previous offseason, if that makes any sense. Hopefully it does. I will include a link to this prototype document in the description of the video. And when this thing goes live at 9 p.m. Eastern time tonight, I'll be on to maybe answer any questions that you might have around it, if you have any live. If not, hopefully I can answer some on Discord while guys are watching the broadcast or watching the podcast. And hopefully it won't be too bad of an issue as far as that goes. But that's our general game plan, because we want to try and get us more up to snuff. And I think everybody would enjoy an extra off season or two in the cycle. And while this wouldn't be a permanent thing, if this were adopted by the league, if the league were open to this and willing to do it, and it worked out well enough to make everybody at least content, it could be something that we could approach in the future, to where we could do a play season, sim season, or do a play sim. The reason we're trying to implement it now is because of the fact that we lost essentially 2 years worth of franchise work, and we're trying to catch back up using this method. It's not the greatest method. There's going to be some shortages as far as draft picks are concerned, as far as figuring out who's a good draft pick. There won't be near as much time to look at scouting and whatnot versus a normal full season. But everybody's going to be in the same boat. So while you can complain about the fact that, well, we're not getting a chance to look at our scouting, we're not getting a chance to look at players, everybody's in the same boat. So it's not like you're getting screwed over everybody else or over just single person else. Everybody's in that same boat. Everybody's going to be struggling. And what we might do is something, and this is something, again, all this is up for discussion, up for a decision by the majority of the owners. But maybe we could do something like on those simulated seasons, allowing the trading of rookies from that simulated season, similar to what we did when we did the restart the first time. And we basically simulated a draft, because we had to simulate our first year draft. That's what it was. We simulated our first year draft because they had the draft glitch still. And so what we did is we allowed rookies to be traded. Maybe we could do something like that, similar with a simulated season, where if your team or you in particular just don't draft well because you didn't have time to really get your scouting board in order and stuff, and I completely understand that, maybe we allow the trading of rookies in those simulated seasons the season after, so that way you can trade for stuff that you might want or trade away surplus stuff for stuff that you need, things of that nature. So that's all stuff that could potentially be on the table. I want us to be an open talking community on this note, because honestly, we all got effed together. As much as that sounds weird to say it that way, EA screwed us all, and we have to make the best of a really crappy situation. And you guys wanted to do a restart, and I commend you for that. I was in the minority that didn't want to do it, but you guys wanted it. I'm here. I want to make sure you guys are enjoying this as much as possible. And I feel one of the ways we could do that is doing something like this, where we simulate a season. We let some guys potentially make the playoffs that don't normally make the playoffs enjoy their time in the sun a little bit, maybe have some banter and some dialogue about stuff, and then have another draft as quickly as possible, get some rookie-infused talent in there, get some new rookies, some new blood, and get some enjoyment out of a game that's really, honestly, took us behind the woodshed and cornholed us pretty badly. And that's being nice, talking about EA. So I'm hoping that this plan, which again, it's not a plan. We have not locked in on anything. It has simply been leadership and I discussing it. But I am bringing this to you as part of this podcast. Is this something you'd be interested in doing? Is this something you want to try and do? At this point, I am open to trying anything and everything to keep interest alive, because after December 28th, 2022, EA took CFM behind a woodshed, took a shotgun, and old yellered it, in my opinion. They don't give a shit about CFM. The only people that do are us. So let's make it fun for us. If you guys want to try this stuff, let me know. If you guys don't want to try this stuff, but you have an idea that's different, let me know. Let's throw some stuff at the wall and see what sticks. Because honestly, at this point, the only thing we got that we can guarantee is the enjoyment of each other having to deal with a shitty product. So let's enjoy this shitty product together and get the absolute most enjoyment we can out of it going forward. I appreciate your time watching this podcast, watching every single podcast I've done to this point. I appreciate you putting in the effort to play these games, whether it's been the draft glitch restart, whether it's been the restart after December 28th. And if you didn't come back, I completely understand, and I am not upset about it. I understand, man. This game has pretty much screwed you, so you say screw it. I get it, okay? But for those guys that are here, that are trying to make the best of a shit situation, I say let's make it the best we can. Let's do stuff. Let's try stuff together as a community. Let's see what works and what doesn't. Let's have open dialogue about stuff as far as these new ideas, these simulated seasons, things of that nature. And let's just try and see if we can make the best of Madden 23 that we can until they inevitably corrupt this file, and then we basically give them a collective middle finger. So with that being said, I'm going to end the podcast. I am Coach Winuvas. I am one of the leadership team in WFL, and I'm very happy to be one of the leadership team here in WFL for you guys. I am the coach now of the Los Angeles Chargers. I appreciate your time watching this podcast. As I said, I appreciate it. Anytime you turn my sorry ass on to listen to it, I appreciate it, especially when I sound like this. And I am so happy that WFL is still going, is still trying, is still striving, and still surviving. And that's all for you. You guys, you wanted it. It's here. So let's make it happen. Let's make it good. I'm going to end it here. I said I was going to end it here 2 minutes ago. If you like this podcast, give us a like, give us a subscribe, comment, do whatever. Let me know in Discord what you think. Again, the link to the document I've been showing you throughout this podcast about the sim season stuff, it'll be linked in the description of the video. So don't sweat that. Appreciate your time today, as always, guys. And until next time, by the way, hopefully on Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern time, like it's supposed to be. For now, though, the corner is closed.